I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post here. But after everything I've learned and everything I've lost, I feel like I need to tell this story. Maybe someone out there will understand. I'm 19 now. I just finished my first year of college. I've always been close with my dad, but my mom, not so much. She left when I was around 9, and the weirdest part is no one ever told me why. All I remember is one night, a lot of yelling. My dad standing at the door with tears in his eyes. My mom turning back to look at me one last time, then gone. For years, it was just silence. My dad never brought her up, and whenever I asked, he just said, she had her reasons. But last month, everything changed. It started with a letter. I was at home over spring break, digging through some old boxes in the attic. I was looking for my childhood Game Boy, but instead, I found something strange. A red shoebox duct-taped shut. I probably should have left it alone, but I didn't. Inside were letters, dozens of them, written in faded ink on delicate paper, some folded so many times they felt like they'd crumble in my hands. And they were love letters, from my dad to her. The first one dated back to when he was 21. I know we're both scared, but I can't stop thinking about the way you looked at me tonight. I want to believe this is real, that I'm not the only one falling. Each letter was raw, real. It was like reading a love story unfolding in real time. Passion, regret, longing. But the most recent letter, the one that cracked me, wasn't written to her. It was written to me. If you're reading this, it means I couldn't bring myself to tell you. Not in words. I wish I could have been braver. I wish I could have told you what really happened. He lied. My dad had always told me my mom just left, that she chose to disappear. But the letters painted a different picture. They talked about arguments not just between the two of them, but with someone else. A man. Her father, I think, religious, controlling. They talked about running away, about choosing love over expectations, but something or someone I needed stopped it. I needed answers. So I asked my dad, and that's where it all really started unraveling. He froze when I mentioned the box. His face turned pale. He sat down slowly, like his knees gave out. I asked him, why didn't you ever tell me about the letters? He looked me dead in the eyes and said, because I failed her, and I failed you. That's all he said. That's all I got. For days after, he barely spoke to me. He just faded into himself, like he was reliving something he couldn't forgive himself for. But the one thing he did give me was an old address, her last known location, a town 6 hours away. He said, if you really want answers, go. So I did. I packed a bag, left before sunrise, and drove to the address. My hands were sweating the whole time. The house was small, white fence, faded garden gnomes. It looked normal. I knocked. A woman in her 40s answered. Blonde, tired eyes. I recognized her face instantly. She recognized mine too. Ethan, she whispered. My name. She knew it. And then she broke down crying. I don't know how long we sat on that porch, but eventually we talked. And I learned everything. So, there I was, sitting on the front porch with a woman I hadn't seen in 10 years. My mother. The last time I saw her, I was a little boy. Now I was a man, and she was a stranger. But when she looked at me, it was like time folded in on itself. She just stared, like she couldn't believe I was real. I waited, she finally said. I waited for this moment every day. I didn't know what to say. I should have been angry. I should have screamed, asked her why she abandoned me, why she let me grow up without a mom. But I didn't. I just asked, why did you leave? And the way her expression shattered. That's when I knew. She didn't leave us. She was forced to. Her father, my grandfather, was the reason. She told me everything. She was only 19 when she met my dad. He was wild, creative, a dreamer. She said she loved how alive he made her feel, but her father was strict, traditional, and cruel. He hated my dad, not because he did something wrong, but because he didn't fit the mold. He wasn't from a rich family, he didn't go to church, he didn't have a real future. And when my mom got pregnant with me, all hell broke loose. He gave me a choice, she whispered. Leave him or leave your child. She couldn't believe it. She said she thought he was bluffing. But the day after I was born, she woke up in a hospital bed, and we were both gone. Her father had pulled strings, moved us, lied to my dad, lied to her. She was locked in a recovery center, told it was for her own good. By the time she escaped, we were gone. I found you two once, she said. When you were 4, at a park, I watched you from the trees. But your dad looked so happy. You looked so happy. I didn't want to ruin that. My chest felt like it was caving in. I didn't know whether to cry, scream, or just run. All my life, I thought she walked out. Turns out she was ripped out. She begged me to believe her. She even showed me documents. Letters she wrote to lawyers, emails she sent to my dad that bounced back. She never stopped trying, but he had buried it all to protect me, or maybe to protect himself. He didn't lie to hurt you, she said. He lied to survive. I stayed the night at her place. We barely slept, just talked. She showed me photos of her life now in a tiny apartment, a job at a bookstore, a cat named Oscar. No husband, no other kids. She said there was never room for anyone else. The next day she asked, "Can I see him?" She meant my dad. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how he'd react. Would he scream? Shut down? Fall apart? But deep down, I knew he still loved her. Even after all these years, so I texted him. I found her. She wants to talk. He didn't reply, but an hour later I saw the notification. Typing. I stared at my phone watching the word typing disappear and reappear. Over and over. It felt like forever. And then finally, my dad replied, "Where?" No questions, no accusations, just where? I sent the address, and then I waited. So did she. When he arrived, he didn't knock right away. We watched from the window as he sat in the car for a good 5 minutes, hands on the steering wheel like he was holding on for dear life. Then the door opened, and my world cracked open again. My dad stepped in. She stood up, and for a solid minute, no one said a word. Just eye contact. That kind that says everything and nothing all at once. He finally broke the silence. "You're really here." Her voice shook. I never stopped being here. What happened next wasn't some movie-style reunion. It was messy, raw, full of tremors in their voices. He accused her of not fighting hard enough. She screamed that she wasn't allowed to. He said he wrote her off to survive. She cried that he erased her to stay sane. I sat there, a grown man, watching two people who never stopped loving each other argue like teenagers whose hearts had been hijacked by adults who thought they knew better. But then, something shifted. He said something I'll never forget. "Do you know how many nights I sat by the door with a bottle and your name in my mouth?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Do you know how many birthdays I celebrated in silence, wondering if you were thinking of me?" They talked for hours. They went over every detail, every misunderstanding, every letter never delivered, every phone call never returned. She showed him the hospital records. He showed her the old photos he kept hidden. And somewhere in the middle of all that, they forgave each other. And me? I was there, watching my parents, these two fractured souls, try to stitch together something that had been torn apart before I even knew how to speak. It hurt, but it healed something too. Because for the first time, I wasn't a mystery caught between two lies. I was a son, with a whole story. Before my dad left, he turned to me and said, You were the only thing that ever made sense. I just wish I'd told you the truth sooner." He hugged her. She cried into his chest like no time had passed. Then he left. Not angry, not broken, just quiet and hopeful. Quiet. It had been 3 weeks since my parents saw each other again. 3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks of what now? Neither of them had contacted me, and I didn't know if that was a good thing or the end. Then, out of nowhere, I got a text from my mom. "We need to talk, all three of us." My heart dropped. I thought the worst. I thought, they're saying goodbye again? I thought, this was just closure, nothing more. But I was wrong. We met at the same place, the small, quiet cafe I'd first brought my mom to. She sat there, hands trembling over her cup. My dad walked in, slower this time. Not cautious, just tired. And then she said, "We've talked. A lot. More than we did in years, maybe ever." My dad nodded. He looked softer. And then she looked at me. "We want to try again." I blinked. Try again? What did that even mean? After 20 plus years apart? After lives lived in separate shadows? You mean, like, be together? "We want to heal," she said. "Not for the past. For now. For what's left." "If you're okay with it," my dad added. That's what broke me. They were asking me for permission. The kid who spent half his life wondering why love had to hurt. The boy who lied to his friends about why he only had one parent. The man who had patched his own heart more times than he could count. And now, they wanted his blessing. I walked out. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't breathe. I sat on the curb outside and cried like I hadn't in years. My dad followed me out. He sat beside me, didn't say anything for a while, then he said, "We broke each other and you paid for it." I didn't reply. He kept going. "We don't deserve a second chance, but we'd like to earn one." I looked at him. This wasn't the man who walked out all those years ago. This was someone who had finally accepted his scars and was willing to let them show. And I thought about her, my mom, who had suffered in silence for so long, choosing peace over confrontation, surviving a system that forced her to give everything up just to keep me safe. So I said, "Okay, but don't do this for me. Do it for you." He smiled, tears in his eyes. "We're finally doing that." It's been 6 months since that day. They're not back together, not like before. But they're friends again. They laugh again. They meet for dinner once a week. Sometimes I join them. Sometimes I just watch from a distance and let them rebuild at their own pace. And me? I sleep better now, because I'm no longer carrying two versions of a story that never made sense. I know the truth. And the truth didn't destroy me. It set me free.